When Kevin exposed Professor Futurioso as a fraud, Emmett decided to cut the guy some slack and just give him a warning. "Thank you, Officer Emmett," the man quickly replied, and then he slinked away. Seeing that the fun was over, the crowd began to disperse. Officer Emmett walked over to Kevin and said, "I'm so sorry I believed what that liar told me. Can you ever forgive me?" She felt extremely awkward about the whole thing. After all, she was in charge of her precinct's criminal investigation unit. How could she have been fooled by a swindler and a fake beard? If word of this got out, she would never be able to face her colleagues again. A brain's a good thing to have. Next time you go out, you should take it with you. Kevin teased her as he gave her a broad smile. "I can't argue with that," she responded. "But you never answered my question. Do you happen to have a power pill you could give me?" "A power pill? I didn't bring one along with me. We'll have to meet another day if you really want one," Kevin replied cautiously. He wasn't in a good mood right now, so he didn't want to give her an herbal med quite so easily. "Okay, I'll get in touch with you later, but you'd better have one on you next time," Officer Emmett warned him playfully. Kevin had left Lily waiting for far too long, so he quickly said goodbye and headed into the crowd. Officer Emmett looked a little disappointed. She sighed and started to walk towards the mall's exit on Halsted Street. Once she realized that Professor Futurioso was actually a fraud, it hit her that Blair had set the whole thing up. Then she remembered that time when he'd gotten someone to put on a mountain lion costume at the campsite. It bothered her that he could do this kind of thing over and over again just to manipulate people. Kevin had been walking for about 10 minutes and still hadn't reached the middle of the mall. After all, it was a huge complex and it was pretty crowded. As he looked around, Kevin suddenly had an idea. It occurred to him that he'd never really done anything romantic for Lily. So why not do something spontaneous right now? Kevin thought about it for a moment and then he sent a text to Tyler Dawn. While he was doing that, Lily and Rachel were slowly walking through the mall doing some window shopping. They hadn't noticed yet, but there were two men walking near them. They were Doug Butler, the man whose name Kevin had mocked at the campsite, and Doug's friend Mason. "Would you like to have dinner with me this evening?" Doug asked Lily as he gave her a flattering smile. He'd been thinking about her day and night ever since he first saw her, and here she was walking through the mall with Rachel, one of the most talked about real estate executives in all of Chicago. So Doug and Mason had quickly hatched a plan to try and pick up both of the women at the same time. "I'm really sorry, Doug, but we have other plans. You're on your own for dinner," Lily refused politely. Mason gave his friend a wink and tried to charm them too. "Hang on, Lily. Don't be too hasty. I think fate must have brought us all together, and I'd like to ask Rachel to have dinner with me. Let's all go out together. How could you resist an offer like that?" Doug picked up Mason's lead and tried to change Lily's mind. "Let me get straight to the point, Lily. I really like you and I want you to be my girlfriend." Then he touched some icons on his phone screen. Moments later, all the lights on Halsted Street started to dim and the TV screens all over the mall lit up with the name Lily. This got the attention of all the shoppers in the mall. "I hope you like it, Lily. It was the only way I could think of to tell you how I feel about you," Doug told her proudly. Although the mall had been built by the KWTD Corporation, Doug's family had been doing business with Tyler Dawn's associates in Chicago for a long time. Doug had just sent a message to one of his contacts at the KWTD Corp to ask them to do him a favor. In exchange, his family would be willing to negotiate with them for a multi-million-dollar project. "Look, Lily, what's your name doing on all the screens?" Rachel exclaimed. She saw just how determined Doug was to get her attention. Lily was impressed to see her name flashing on screens all over the mall. Her reaction really got Doug's hopes up. But as Lily looked around at all of the screens, a familiar face caught her eye. She hurried over to Kevin and asked him, "What took you so long, sweetie?" Hearing the anxiety in Lily's voice made Kevin smile a little. There were a ton of people at the entrance. It took me forever to squeeze through the crowd. When Mason saw Kevin arrived, he got a sour look on his face. In an attempt to help Doug win over Lily, he decided to try insulting Kevin. "Well, who's this guy? He looks like a real me. Do you see this light show? Doug set it up especially for Lily. I'll bet a like you could never top this." Mason boasted so loudly that everyone around them could hear. Of course, the crowd stopped to watch this public spectacle. They were impressed when they found out that it was Doug who had arranged for the light show. And when they heard him call Kevin a loser, they believed him. Doug broke into a self-satisfied grin when he overheard their comments. "I'll tell you what, Kevin. I like Lily, and I've decided I'm going to start dating her. If you have any common sense, you'll just back off. Maybe I'll invite you to our wedding," he said with disdain. "But don't bring any gifts. I'm sure you couldn't afford anything more than some cheap crap from a box store." Lily was about to speak up when Kevin decided to put Doug in his place. "Hey, aren't you?" Kevin said loudly enough for the crowd to hear. "I remember you. Maybe I shouldn't have fished you out of the water back at the campground. Then you wouldn't be here right now spoiling Lily's afternoon." Then Kevin glanced around at the TV screens and added, "There's one more thing. If you're trying to win my wife's affection, you'll have to try harder than this. What the hell were you thinking?" "Haven't you ever heard that a man's got to know his limitations?" Doug advised him. "If this doesn't impress you, let's see if you can do any better. 3 minutes from now, you'll see Lily's name along with mine up on all the screens," Doug bragged. "That's the difference between you and me. Do you understand what I'm saying?" This drew a lot of gasps from the onlookers. They could see how elegantly Doug was dressed and figured Kevin didn't stand a chance in this competition. He was really biting off more than he could chew. "I can't believe this guy. You're not even in the same league as my friend Doug," Mason remarked as he tried to egg Kevin on. "If you can do better than to spell out Lily's name and mine with 150,000 light bulbs, go right ahead," Doug added arrogantly. "Let's go home, honey," Lily whispered in Kevin's ear as she put her hand gently on his shoulder. She didn't want to see him get embarrassed on her account. "Mr. Williams, Kevin, do you want me to do anything?" Rachel asked him. She wasn't quite sure what to call him in a public place. He saw how uncomfortable Rachel looked and he patted Lily on the back and replied calmly, "There's no need for that." "What's that, Kevin? Afraid to do anything? Why don't you just get out of here?" Doug challenged him. He was getting more and more overconfident. "I've had about enough of this," Kevin muttered as he pulled out his phone and tapped on Tyler's number. Moments later, his friend answered and Kevin said nonchalantly, "Hey, how are you doing? I need you to turn off all of the lighting and TV screens at the Halstead Street Mall."
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.